Oh, let's slide the
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is just lovely to be with you here on this Friday evening as we welcome Shabbat. I'm Rabbi Miriam, leading with Cantor Grant. This evening, a few public service announcements. If you need to visit the facilities at any point during the service, please walk this way past the lovely children's table. If you need it, it is there of any age. And through the gates into Packard Hall. Please do not walk behind there. There are wires and you'll be caught on camera. So please walk that way for the restrooms. And of course, thank you so much for turning off or silencing your phones. This is a chance to unplug, unwind, disconnect from all that we have to do and should have done and wish we done and didn't want to do, and we're glad we did in this past week, and just take a breath. Let's just do that. Take a deep breath. And breathe in that Shabbat peace. One more breath. We usher in Shabbat with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, page 120. You might want to, Mike, you may want to cover your eyes so you don't see these lights until we say the blessing, and then they'll magically be there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love one another. To work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world that God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Page 128.
Bottom of the page.
Bottom of the page.
Achama merosh ha'illanot nistaleka Uvenetze likrat Shabbat hamalka Hinei yoredet hakedosha haberucha Ve'ima malachim tzva shalom umenucha Boi hamalka Boi hakalam Shalom aleichem malachei hashalom The sun on the treetops is no longer seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed. And with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace.
We welcome this Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi, page 138. We will do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to the last verse, we will rise and face the setting sun. Page 138.
verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva ore, kumi ori, uri uri, shieda beri, kevod Adonai, alayich nigla, lechanori, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom, materet bala, gam besimcha, ובצולה, תוך אמונה, עם סגולה, בואי חלה לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
As we have welcomed Shabbat, let's welcome each other. Look at if you are here in person, look around you, greet those around you, introduce yourself to someone new, greet an old friend. If there are strange faces you don't know and you're a regular, please go up and introduce yourself. If you are online, Matthew is taking you in Zoom land off to breakout rooms, and on Facebook, feel free to say hello. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. יאללה לי לי לי, 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 יאללה לי לי לי.
You may be seated as we turn to page 148. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, u'bitvuna meshenei itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars and their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Shmo.
Ha'ma'ariv Aravi.
Amen. Page 150, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, et Yisrael, Amecha Avta, Amecha Avta. Torah u'mitzvot, hukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochmenu, ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ומצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם בלילה, נגי יומם בלילה. ואהבתך תשים ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 152.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. You may be seated for Micha Mocha, which is on page 158.
Mocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, nolat tehilot, osef ele, nora tehilot, osef ele, malchutecha ravu vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeili, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 160.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom 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 v'hamidenu shomerenu l'chaim l'chaim l'shalom 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 uferos aleinu sukkah shelomecha l'shalom 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 v'tachinena b'etzah tova milfanecha l'shalom 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 na 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 שמות צאתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפל. השביעי וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. na 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 na
We rise for the Amidah, page 164, and we will continue on the subsequent pages 166, 168, and 170.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה 168 אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen. You may be seated. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burned unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Continue on with Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. Take some time for a silent prayer. We turn our hearts to those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit, as well as all those who care for those who are suffering. If you are thinking of someone this evening, hold them in your heart. If you are on Zoom, you can enter them in the chat. Our blessing for healing is on page 382.
הושיע את עמך וברך את נחלתך וראה ונשאם עד העולם מי שברך אבותינו מי שברך אמותינו אנא אדוני הושיענה
If you find your juice at your seat, if you do not grab one, our fantastic ushers, Steve and Greg, are coming around with more juice or wine. Really delectable Rashi, really. Page 122, you'll find the Kiddush. Can I borrow the handheld mic for my Devar?
Oh, sure.
Page 122. Page 123. Same facing page.
I can do 122 also if you like.
Yeah, we have time.
Let's do both.
Let's do it. 122.
Please rise. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי וקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר יציאת מצרים הבנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
You may be seated as you savor that vintage grape juice. It is much better.
It is better.
So, we have a very cool Torah portion this week. Lots of hits in the portion. And so I am going to do something that I have not done here since I have been at Bat Yahm. This is going to be an interactive Devar Torah. So put your thinking hats on. I have my mic. I'm going to ask you some questions. But first, let me tell you a little bit. One of my favorite lines or paragraphs that's in this portion. Deuteronomy, chapter 8. Therefore, keep the commandments of Adonai your God. Walk in God's ways and show reverence. For Adonai your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams and springs and fountains issuing from plain and hill, a land of wheat and barley, of vines, figs and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land where you may eat food without stint, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron, and from whose hills you shall mine copper. When you have eaten your fill, give thanks to Adonai your God, for the good land Adonai is given to you. So, lots of, it's poetry. It's, in case you missed it, it's kind of sometimes hard to hear in the English, but that is poetry. It's quoted a lot. Did anyone catch? There are seven, there's something that is number, something of seven in there. Anyone catch what was the seven that is referred to in Jewish tradition? It's alluded to on our ark. Seven, anyone know? We have some expert Torah study people in this space, so I'm looking at you. 7 days a week. 7 days a week are not in this portion. 7 days a week. Oh, Barbara Myers, I see that hand. Or was it Jim? Where you was like, okay, sharing. This is teamwork. Okay.
Putting her on the spot.
Not sure what you're, but the pomegranates and everything else.
Yes, the seven species. The seven species of produce native to the land of Israel. And if you go to Israel, you might notice that they are featured everywhere. And privilege of the pulpit, I love that we are hinted at on our podium and on our ark. We have barley and dates and wheat and actually I think this is almond. But olive. We have a lot of grapes. We have this produce of the Holy Land. That's much of which is referred to in this piece. But that's exciting and delicious as it is, and you can make 7 species cake. It's really good. You used beer to get the barley. I told you it was good. So that is not why I'm excited to bring this paragraph to you tonight. It's that last line. When you have eaten your fill, give thanks to Adonai your God for the good land given to you. So here is my question. Not very often in Torah are we actually commanded to pray. But here we are. So why do you think, what motivation, what rationale is in God's mind, you guys get to be God, congratulations, for blessing? Why are the people commanded to give thanks to God? So take a moment, think, why do you think God commanded us when we've entered our land, I'm using the us with owning this, entered the land of Israel, why are we commanded to eat after we have eaten our fill in the land that God has given us? All right. Don't all raise your hands at once. You can now raise your hands. All right, Sally, thank you. I read my audience. I knew who was here. So there's no right answer. Take the mic and talk into the mic, please.
It seems to me that we really don't appreciate things just when it's there. And sometimes we have to command our children to say thank you and to appreciate what they have. And I think God commanded us so that we would be aware and
Ooh, okay, so there were 2 pieces there, and I want to pull them apart because they're both very, very Jewish ways of thinking and teaching. So kind of contrary to the Western way, you say thank you whether or not you feel thankful, because the act of saying thank you actually makes you aware of what you're grateful for. So you might say something that's you're commanded to say something whether you're grateful or not. Say thank you. And then maybe by the saying it, you might become aware. Does anyone want to think a different reason or want to add something? Jeff.
So the act of eating and getting your fill is very human. Okay.
Eating. We traditionally eat 3 meals a day. I mean, in our culture, we eat 3 meals a day. It's very human.
And because we are human, at the end of that, we have to remember that. Because God probably doesn't have to eat. And so we should thank that which put these things in place.
Okay, so thank that being that put these things in place, not for God's sake, but for us. All right, I saw another hand. Jim? Was this with Barbara's whispering in your ear this time?
Basically, we are elevating our senses.
Okay.
So we have seen, we have heard, about the land, and now we are sampling what's there.
Ooh.
So we're tasting, and we're actually experiencing that way before we have our other senses fulfilled.
Okay, so first, we use all of our senses to experience this land, and then we give thanks for it. Good experiential education right there. All right, great. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, so does anyone know what the prayer is that came out of this? Do you know the name of the prayer? It's called Birkat HaMazon, and it's the blessing after eating. So if I were to say to you, write a prayer that says, thank you, God, for food. Who can just do that on one foot? Anyone want to do that? Okay, so Hamotzi Lecha Min Haaretz, the prayer we say before eating. Thank you, God, for bringing forth bread from the earth. You're right, but this is after. So the amazing thing is that Birkat HaMazon, this blessing that the rabbis drew out of this commandment, so it's a mitzvah, you're supposed to, and it's a good deed, is 6 paragraphs long, and they ain't short paragraphs. It's one of the longest, regular prayers that you do when you're not sitting in services. It's long, and they claim that the first 3 paragraphs are actually in here. Ready? You want to hear how they get there? Some of you do. Okay, well, all of you get to, whether you want to or not. Fantastic. So here we go. The sages taught in the Tosefta. Where do we get from Torah the grace after the meals? And then they quote, and you shall eat and be satisfied, and you shall bless the eternal your God for the good land that God has given you. And so you shall bless that phrase, you shall bless. Stop there. Take that phrase, you shall bless. That is the blessing, Hazan et HaKol, the one who feeds all. That's the first paragraph. The Lord your God, that is the blessing where everybody is called to prayer. So the phrase, the Lord your God, means, you have to call people to praise God, okay? Right? And for the prayer for the land comes from the phrase, because of the good land that God has given you. And wait, don't use the word good in there. Good, that is a blessing for the one who builds Jerusalem, which is also in there. So actually we're at kind of 4 paragraphs. All right. And finally, what about the blessing before eating? Because now we're at 4 paragraphs, the blessing after eating. I only have a source from Torah for the blessing after you eat. Well, how do we know we should bless before we eat? Which most of us know. Hamotzi Lecha Min Haaretz. We're going to do it later this evening. It is derived because if you're blessed after, how much the more so should you bless before? But somebody else said it is actually in there and hidden. We'll get to that later. So here we are, 4 paragraphs out of 1 sentence. That's the rabbis for you. So, and then they add on, once you add on, you can't take away. They actually say that in this part. So Reform Judaism, we kind of blew that up. But until then, Jewish prayers got longer and longer, and now you know why. So, wait a minute. It's not done, okay? So here we are. We've got 4 paragraphs. But where do I know that the blessing of the Torah is derived from this line? They keep going. Because obviously you should bless Torah, somebody said, but no, because it uses the word Natan, I gave you. Well, that God used the same word when he gave us the Torah. So I gave you the land, I gave you the Torah. Clearly one refers to the other. If you should bless for the food that I gave you, you should bless for the Torah. Wait, I think there's one more. Let's see. All right. Yes, there's one more. They got one more out of this. From where should I know that you should recite blessings over the bad things in life and not just the good? Well, that's a hard one. When will you bless something that's bad? It's a tough one. The verse that says that the Lord your God gave you. Your God is a reference to the attribute of divine justice. Your judge in whatever judgment that he judges you, whether it is a positive measure of goodness or a measure of calamity. And during loss, we praise God, which is kind of crazy. And we use that phrase, God the judge. God is a judge of truth, because we don't understand it, but it's happened. And the rabbis got all of that from when you have eaten your fill, give thanks to Adonai your God for the good land that God has given to you. So I want to come back to something that you said, Jeff, which is why all of this blessing? Why all of this thanking? Well, once you're eaten and satisfied, it's easy to not say thank you. It's easier to say thank you when you sit down and you're hungry. You're like, oh, thank goodness. Thank God I've got food in front of me. I just said a blessing. But when you're full, you might get complacent. You might forget to say thank you and bless. And even you might start to think, oh, look at this. Look at all this great food I put on the table. And how well I'm supporting my family. And look how well I am doing. And forget the role of God in our lives, and that we cannot only depend on ourselves and our own means. So, Rabbi Soloveitchik said that what is happening in this practice of Judaism, of blessing before and blessing after, raises the practice of eating, which is an animalistic requirement. Animals eat too, not just the human level, because humans sanctify eating, but other cultures have made a culture of beauty and may have forgotten to connect it to God. But Judaism raises it above that and humbles human beings and thanks gods. And so we eat not just as animals and not just as humans, but we raise eating to the level of the divine. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And on that note of imagining that we can bring about a time of perfect peace, of being fully connected to the divine, we rise for Aleinu, page 586.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We remain standing for Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on 598. We are in the period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning, for Morris Chabin, William Green, Rochelle Liss, and Kathy Weiss. And we are in the period of Soshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Bob Baskett, Susan Blumenfeld, Kenneth Lopati, Lewis Robinson, and Marilyn Rudin. This is the yahrzeit of Stephen Harlan Ansel, Nurullah Ashuri, William Balin, Barbara Benham, Hector Cervantes, Michael Darman, Frida Dinnan, Samuel Galen, Beatrice Glazer, Isidore Glass, William Goodman, Peter Grushko, Seymour Kagan, Sally Kuznitsky, Florence Lederman, Francine Lefrock Brown, Irma Levine, Alvin Lewin, Rosalind Menkes, Herbert Mercer, Shirley Ann Mercer, Susie Nada, Irv Knightlick, Marianne O'Connor, Ben Bezetsky, Richard Rodnick, Elka Balin Roselar, Helen Rothbart, Sidney Sapsowitz, and Isaac David Yasvin. We also remember those who have died due to baseless hatred here and around the world, and those who have died from COVID-19, and those whose deaths who are gun-related. Zichronam livracha. May their memories forever be a blessing.
Amen.
Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chai echon v'yom echon v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'la'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. I'll accept the representative of our Board of Trustees, our President, Adrian Cohen, who has some announcements for us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's nice to see some old friends and some new friends, and it is wonderful to see everyone here in our outdoor amphitheater. We actually had to add chairs this week to accommodate everyone, which is a fantastic problem to have. So we are delighted to see everyone here. Thank you for Rabbi, our really wonderful sermon today, and of course Cantor's beautiful voice, and Paul. And also thank you to Matthew and Aaron Ross and our ushers for helping make tonight special. This weekend, Torah study is online only. If you liked it, you get more tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Rabbi Phillips. Fantastic. WTBY invites everyone to come to the beautiful sculpture garden in Newport Beach at the Civic Center on Wednesday. That is the next Wednesday, August 24th at 10:30 a.m. You can just come. You don't even have to RSVP. There is no charge for the tour. And if you would like, there is an optional lunch afterwards at Wild Strawberry Cafe, which is within walking distance. So we've been anticipating this event for many weeks now, so very excited about that next week. Also, TBY Youth, we've got TBY Littles, which is TK to second graders, come before Shabbat next Friday. And we will have a happy hour for the parents. So how much better can it get than that? It is also our Bring Your Friends to Shabbat service next Friday night. We are hoping to have everybody bring somebody and enjoy our wonderful amphitheater, which we get to use until September 2nd, I think. So it's so beautiful out here, and I always get kind of sad at the end of summer when we're coming to the end, because it is such a wonderful thing to be able to have services. So August 26th, 5 to 6 p.m. for the kids and for the happy hour. If you love tonight, again, come back, August 26th. And high holidays, I know you haven't forgotten. They are less than 6 weeks away. So order your honey from Ort by September 1st. I've been saying this every week, but it is a fantastic way to give something nice to your family. It's super easy. You go online and they send it. They take care of all the work for you. So, and the temple benefits from it. So it's a great thing to do. High holidays, we will be mailing tickets, and you can purchase your tickets, which will be available after August 10th. And those who have seats will get a call from Debbie. And you will find all the dates in our flyer that you have in your prayer books tonight, as well as online at tby.org, where all of this information is. And so you can have all that information there. And we are also in full swing on our membership drive. The high holidays are right on time, but a little bit late on our regular calendar. So it's important to get your membership renewed as soon as possible. It's really helpful and easier to get your tickets that way. And we have such a wonderful community here, and it's so important that everybody support it. We really appreciate it, and that's why we can be here. So thank you, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful night.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh. Becoming an announcement pro there. We rise for our closing prayer. Shalom Aleichem, page 627.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hashari, Malachi Elyon, Di Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, Makadosh Baruch Hu, V'achem L'Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, Makadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, Makadosh Baruch Hu, Tzeitzechem B'Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, Makadosh Baruch Hu.
Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. B'te'avon, Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for our oneg. There is challah on the tables.
Shabbat Shalom.
Lovely to welcome Shabbat with you.
Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom.